Okay, yeah, this is to welcome everybody to the transition into Tech 2024 section where uh, I'm going to be focusing on training and mentoring about 100 people who will be committed to the course of the program for the next 6 months. And as a bit of introduction, my name is Tosin Rubenga, and I am a software engineer of about 7 to 8 years of experience, and I'm a full stack developer who specializes in using JavaScript and TypeScript frameworks across both frontend and backend role. So my motivation for this section is to actually think about giving back to people or giving back to the community. A lot of people are always, in my DMs on my various social media platforms asking me about how they can easily transition to tech and how they want to become software engineers and all of that. So that is one of the reasons that motivates me to actually start this course. So we're going to be covering the whole curriculum of what we're going to be doing the next 6 months. Then after that, we'll move into installing some very important tools and softwares that you will need for the course of the section. And please note that most of the tutorial videos is going to be uploaded on YouTube, where you will be expected to watch and practice. I can also make a description of how you can practice on your laptop in a way that is going to be a bit easy. If you don't have screens, like the screens I have here, if you don't have screens, you can just do it on one singular laptop, which is I think that is kind of okay and good. So it's important that we put all of that into consideration. Thank you. We'll be looking at everything you're going to be doing in the next 6 months from here, and they are not that difficult of what we're going to be going through. First of all, we're going to be setting up our development environment. We're going to do all of that today, the development environment on what we're going to be doing. So the first thing you're going to be downloading and installing is our test editor, or generally called IDE. IDE simply means integrated development environment, and the most popular one is VS Code. Later, I'm going to suggest another one we're going to use as we advance, maybe when we are 3 months into the program. So we're going to use another test editor or IDE that is more AI powered, because at the end of the day, you learn how to use AI to write codes and develop applications. So after that, we're going to install version control Git. I'm going to make sure we start using Git from beginning, from now, so that you can set up your Git account online. Then you can start pushing your codes online, so that your Git repository will start having some point of coding. Yeah. Then after that, we're going to install Node.js and npm. Node.js is a development environment. Also, is a kind of a runtime that runs on your local machine. And when I talk about machine, when I speak about local machine going forward, we talk about your laptop, whether Mac OS or Windows OS that you're going to be using. So we'll install uh, the node. Very easy to install. None of those is complex. Then after that, we'll move to uh, use Chrome developer. Most laptops already already have browsers, and I'm sure that most of us will have browsers on a laptop. It is Chrome, or most popular one is Chrome. You can also use uh, Mozilla Firefox. You can use Explorer, but mostly I use Chrome for most of my debugging and testing. You need it for debugging and testing. So let's look at what we're going to be doing in the first 1 month. So this first month, we're going to be looking at HTML5 and CSS. That's learning web page structure, elements, tags, and forms. Those are the things we're going to be doing. Elements, the tags, the structure, how a web page look like. That's HTML. It is called hypertext markup language. That's the full meaning of HTML. Hypertext markup language. Then CSS, the meaning of CSS is cascading style sheets. So you master styling, flexbox, grid, responsive designs. Those are the things we're going to be doing in CSS. Then we'll now use both HTML and CSS knowledge to build a website. We could build a static portfolio website where you put your name, your image, what you do, and etc. on just using HTML and CSS. Then after that, we'll proceed to introduction to JavaScript. We're going to be learning JavaScript from the second month. And if we are very fast in what we're learning, I mean, it doesn't have to be month by month, but the month two is supposed to be focused on JavaScript itself, or yeah, JavaScript before we actually move to TypeScript. And it is when you start JavaScript, that is when you can start saying you are now learning programming. Okay, so we learn the syntax, the variables, the loops, the functions, and the DOM manipulations. That's document object model. That's the meaning of DOM. Then we'll now learn ES6 features like arrow functions, template literals, and destructuring. How to destructure um, how to destructure variables, to destructure objects. So we'll learn that in ES6 feature. Then after that, we can now use that to add interactiveness to our portfolio website. All right, so we'll go back to our HTML CSS website and go and add go and improve on it with the JavaScript that we'll be learning in this new month. Then after, so we'll now start learning asynchronous JavaScript. That's we'll master callback promises, how to use async and wait, how to effectively manage the code. Then after that, we'll now move into TypeScript, because TypeScript is the main thing. We'll move to TypeScript, and from there, we can now rewrite everything we've done before, which we've done in JavaScript. We can now convert it to TypeScript. Let me say here that TypeScript is just JavaScript, but it's a bit of helping you to type it, to make your code more testable, readable, and it helps you to reduce bugs at deployment. So I'm going to be explaining all of that too as we progress. In the fourth month, so in the fourth month, we're going to be focusing on frameworks, and that is where React.js will come in. We'll learn React.js and Next.js, because Next.js is also a React framework, but it is used differently. I would After we build an application with React, then we'll now go back to build an application with Next.js. So you are not learning anything complex in Next.js. Is a bit different from React.js. So look at the React basics, the React setup. We'll now look at how you style in React, and we'll now build a project, like a blog. We build a blog in React, how we're going to use React to build a blog, or if there's any suggestion to any other tool or any other idea that we want to build, we can then build it with React. Then in the fifth month, we're going to proceed to learn backend development, and that will take us a bit of time. But by that time, you will have mastered fully. At least you will have been qualified to be a front-end engineer. Then we'll now move into backend development with Node.js and Express. Kind of very simple to set up. You know how to use Postman, how to write APIs, API application programming interface, how to build databases connection, how to use PostgreSQL and Prisma ORM, for data management. Those are the tools I personally use now. Then if we have enough time, I can introduce us to Next.js for backend development as well. Okay, so there is Next.js for front end. The front end is Next. Then this particular framework for backend is Next.js. So those are the two. So we're going to use both Express.js and Next.js. They are both framework for building APIs, for developing RESTful APIs. So then we'll now build a simple API registration interface and authentication. Then we'll now build it with our front end. So we can now build a front end dashboard integrated into the backend. So it's going to be a lot of things we're going to be doing during the course of the training. So that's what we're going to be doing in the fifth month. And in the sixth month, now we're going to be combining what we've done in both front and back end. So we'll now convert React front end with the Node.js that we have built. We'll learn about CI/CD at that point, how GitHub Actions work. Then we'll learn about methodologies on how we plan agile methodology. That's what I use on how we plan software development. Then we'll now build a full stack, task management app. How to do task. Maybe you set up a task, timing, and all of that. Even if you wanted to send you an email, you can send an email to you and all of that. So we're going to be building all of that in the course of the training. Of course, if you have any other ideas, if anyone in the community have an idea of what we're supposed to build, it's going to be a challenge we will build. In fact, the concept and the idea is that in the next 6 months, or by the time you are done fully from this training section, you will have built at least maybe 3 or 4 applications across board with different teams. Some people will be doing front end, some will be doing the back end. We will integrate it together, and you will see how this beautifully works. Okay, so we're going to be doing all of that, and I just want to encourage all of us, who will be on this cohort for this particular period, to make sure that you follow through with everything we're doing. Every exercise I'm going to give you, every action I'm going to ask you to do. We have about 500 people in our in our we have about 500 people in our community, for instance, and my target is just 100 people. So what it means to me is that of the 500 people, I should be able to get at least 100 people who will be committed to the program all through the period. It is not difficult, it is easy. By the time we start using AI, I'm not going to use AI at all for the first 6 months, but after the 6 months, I will now start building applications with AI, and that you will now see the speed at which we can use AI to develop very fast. So I welcome you again to the course. If you are watching this YouTube video and you are not from my community, I have a very huge community on WhatsApp, where most of these people who will be watching the video are interacting, because in that place, that's where I'm going to group people together. I'm going to be grouping people to different teams. So those groups will form cohort, or will form boot camp, and they will build applications independently. So we do a lot of exercise there. So if you are joining this video, you can see the link in the bio into uh, where you can actually where you can actually join the community. Then so those are then, if possible, we'll now do version control, and we'll learn about GitHub action. Of course, like I said, we'll start GitHub from the beginning. From the beginning of the course, I will have I will have encouraged you to start using GitHub. Then we're going to do testing. Yes. So if you're working in an internet, if your vision is to work in a global organization, testing is very key. I know a lot of developers does not know how to test their applications. Here, I'm going to teach you how to test your applications, unit testing mostly, on how to use Jest. Jest is the most popular testing library that we're going to be using for both TypeScript and JavaScript, and for both backend, for both our backend applications. So where we test each of the functions that we are going to be creating. So there's going to be a lot that we are going to be learning through the course of the program, and I really want everyone to be committed and dedicated to that. Then lastly, so that's just the conclusion. We have weekly question and answer session. We're going to be holding live event. I don't know whether it's going to be on YouTube or on TikTok. I'm going to be using TikTok. Yeah, so we're going to be using TikTok. So make sure you follow my TikTok handle as well. I'm going to be sharing all of that in the description. So at the end of the day, I mean, every week, like I said, we're going to be having question and answer section, where you will come live, you will ask me questions about whatever it is you're doing. I'm going to provide those answers. So the mentoring program is going to be a general mentoring program, not private, because of my time. So you would take the opportunity of the live sessions to ask questions on your challenges, and those are the things that we will be doing during the course of the of the training. So it's going to be daily practice, engage, and challenge yourself for what to be the best that you can be. The work starts now, and where it's going to be starting from is actually from our browser. All right. So I expect that everyone has a browser. This is Google Chrome. If you don't have a browser, probably your laptop is new. It will most likely come with either Safari if it's Mac OS. Then if it is a window laptop, it's going to most likely come newly with Explorer. Okay, we call it Internet Explorer browser. So, but in my own case, I already have Chrome installed on my system. If you don't have Chrome installed, any browser that come in default with your application, with your laptop, I will encourage strongly that you download Chrome, because Chrome has some dev tools that all the browsers have, but I'm more familiar with Chrome, so that you can be on the same page when I make examples. So we're going to write on your browser, you download VS Code. I used to have VS Code before, but I uninstall it for the purpose of this installation procedure. So you go to the website, download VS Code. So if you are using Windows, you download Windows installer. User installer, this is system installer. So if any one of your choice, I think you're going to be downloading mostly user system installer. So that's for Windows. So I use Mac. I'm going to be downloading for Mac OS directly on my machine. And so I'm going to click on it now. So it's going to start downloading. Yeah, the download, you will see the download here. So that's done. I'm going to I'm going to proceed to install it now. So yes, it's going to install it now. Ready? So I'm going to open where the file is to install it directly on my machine. So this is the VS Code. I'm going to click it. The way it's installed on a Windows machine is going to be different from the way it's installed on a Mac OS, but it's normal installation process. So it's here now. This is the application. I'm going to move it to my application folder. Yes. Yeah. So that's how it installs. So when I unzip it, I just move it to my application folder, and there it is. So I'm going to look for it now. This is VS Code. Yep. So it's as simple as that. That's how to install VS Code on your machine. So it's asking me that the VS Code is blah blah blah. I'm just going to say open. So there are other IDEs you can download, but VS Code is the most popular, that has a lot of support that you can use. So we need to move next uh, to what other thing you need to do. You need to download Git. Git, I already have Git on my machine, but you might also need to download it. So I'm going to be downloading Git. So it's either if it is Mac or Windows. So if you are using Windows, you click download Git for Windows. It's simple. You download and install. So I already have it installed on my system. So you download your own. If you have any issues with the installation or downloading, you can let us know in the community. So when you install it, just let it be. We'll get to that later. So that's the next thing you need to install. Then another thing you need to install is Node. Remember, we made mention of it. Node download, because Node is what will power most of the applications that you will be doing. So this is Node. You click on Node, then you can install Node depending on the kind of operating system that you use. All the descriptions are easy. This is for, I think it's bringing Mac OS because is by default discovering that I use a Mac, but I can change to Windows. This is how to install in Windows, but you can also download pre-built installer here. This is a package manager. If you want to download using your terminal, you might not want to do this for now, but there are pre-built installers that you can download. This is for Mac OS. This is for Windows. So you change it and you download for any of the operating systems you are using. Okay, so and download the latest. That's going to be the best that you should do with respect to that. So those are the most important things that we need for now. If there are other tools like Postman, we'll get to that later. We'll no need to install database on our system. We're going to create an account. Everybody will create an account where we can use our database and interact with our database. So those are the major tools that we need to download for now. So when you are done with downloading, you are ready to start writing your first lines of code. So by now you must have downloaded your VS Code, and please open it up and click on the folder here. My folder is opened. Like the other time, I've explained the important things you need to know about the VS Code, like the search button, the Git. So for now, let's let's do this. Then lest I forget, it's important that you go to GitHub to create a GitHub account. So github.com. So I already have an account, and that's what is going to come up. If you don't have an account, yeah. So if you don't have an account, you sign up. You sign up here. Welcome to GitHub. So enter your email. You follow through whatever it is that is in your email. You sign up. Everybody is supposed to sign up into their GitHub account. So I'm going to sign in to my own GitHub account now, and I'm going to use there is a two-factor authenticator that I have installed. So I'm going to check to put in the two-factor authenticator now for GitHub. 738 177. So it's verifying. Yeah, I'm in. So I've done quite a number of work in the time past. So your own GitHub account might be a bit different from what you have here. So this is my dashboard. This is my home page. Enter. So there's where I want to show. Yeah. So this is my preview page. So it's long I created my YouTube account, and here you can see some project I've built. These are the codes that are in my GitHub account. This is an open source product that I launched. It's open source. I'm going to be explaining to us what open source is later, and I want everybody to also contribute to this open source. These are the things that will help you to get a job as quickly as possible. So everything that you need will be taught. Yeah, so these are softwares, pharmaceutical based softwares I built a long time ago, a from application. Then a lot of I have 73 repository, which are both public and private. Interviews, a lot of them are all here in my in my repository. And look at my stars. I've gotten a lot of stars achievements in programming. So as you keep writing and you are contributing, you would continue to also get stars and also have achievement. Then from here, you can easily see the contributions I've made this year is 420 contributions. Of course, there are some other contributions that are private. You might not see them. So these are private activity overview. Yeah, so these are all both public and private. Yeah, so those are the contributions I've made. I can see for over the years. So it is important. So create a GitHub account, because we're going to be creating our first GitHub repository very soon. And I'm going to teach you on how to connect your GitHub repository to your VS Code. So we need to go back to VS Code now. Yeah, so to VS Code, if you've installed Node and if you have installed Node and Git, there's a way you can find out what exactly if you have actually installed them. So if I want to find out if I've installed Git, I'm going to put Git version. As you can see, Git version. Is it tiny? Let me increase the font. Yeah, so Git version. So it's very big now. So this is my Git IV. So it's going to Git version, Apple Git 154. If you want to know if your node has also been installed, just do node same way, node version. So to bring my node version. So when those things are done, you are certain that both your Git and your node has both been installed. These are the most important tools you actually need for now to progress in the development cycle. So what we need to do now is to create our first web page. And I know a lot of you are excited about that already. You are going to be creating your first website. So you are now a web developer in the making. Yeah, so we're going to click open folder. So in my open folder, I'm going to go to desktop. As you can see, I'm going to go to desktop. I have some information on my desktop. The way it's going to look from your own window machine is going to be different, but it's practically the same thing on how to relate, how to handle folders, directories in both macOS and Windows. So I'm on desktop, wherever you want to store your own, but for this tutorial, I'm going to store it on desktop. You might want to store your own on anywhere or in your documents or downloads, but for this tutorial I'm going to store everything on desktop. So I'm going to create a new folder. Yours might be different, so I'm going to say web. I'm just going to call it web. So I'm going to create that folder, created. So I'm going to open the folder my uh in my VS Code directly, and it is from this folder I'm going to create all my files. All right. So to create a new file, there are buttons here. As you can see, this is creating a new file. If you want to create a new folder, if you want to refresh the Explorer, if you want to collapse the Explorer. So those are the different those are the mean those that's the mean. So the first file we are going to create now, and I want us to create something in the first training session today, and also look at the tags, the HTML tags today. So we can take it off from there. So we're going to create the first file. I'm going to call that file index.html. In programming, files that we create always have extensions. So there's index.html. If I have index.ts, that's TypeScript, index.js, that's JS file, index.css, that is a CSS file. So these are the different type of files that you can create. And there are a lot of other files that you can create. As you progress, you will continue to come across these files that you can create when you are creating your application, your web development. So we are going to start with index.html. And of course, I'm going to click enter. So now this index.html. So I'm going to left click on it. What can we do quickly here? So I'm going to just type HTML. Can you see? The moment I'm typing HTML, it is bringing abbreviations for me. So I'm hovering over them now. So the intention of the IDE is to help me auto generate the syntax for HTML. The moment I type HTML, it already knows that that is what we're supposed to do next. So I'm going to click HTML now. 5 by default, all the HTML, the HTML syntax, they are all up. Simple. So this is your first web browser. Uh, yes, this is your first web file that you are creating. So we're going to do a simple introduction of yourself. Uh, but before we go, let's look at what all of this means. So this document type is trying to tell the browser that is going to interpret this file that the document type is HTML. All right, and that the language we are writing this HTML is English. That's what that means. So here we have opening and closing tags. When you are writing HTML files, there's always an opening and closing tags. There's some rare cases where you don't have opening and closing tag. Okay, so but for now we have opening and closing tag, the head and the closing tag of the head. This is the closing tag. This is the opening tag. This is the opening tag of HTML. This is the closing tag. This is the opening tag of body. This is the closing tag. So in here is where we write a lot of the things we intend writing. Okay, so here is where we write a lot of the things we intend writing to. And so yeah, so within the body, that's where we write everything we want to write. We also do some things within the head section, but that will be later. So every web page has a title. The title of this is document. I'm going to change it later, and I'm going to show you where it reflects.